of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item of business is approval of the agenda. Are there changes to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. We are now at public participation. Persons to be heard. It's a time for members of the public to share their views with the council. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the council or administration. There is no one on the sign-up sheet, so we will close public participation. And there's no unfinished business, so we will move directly to new business.
Oh, we do have unfinished tonight. Sorry, that was, remember, we flipped around. Unfinished from last night.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, no, you're good.
Okay, we are at unfinished business. We will continue from last night. So I need a motion to enter committee of the whole.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we move into committee of the whole.
Is there a second?
Rubio seconds.
It's been moved by Councilmember Cottle and seconded by Councilmember Rubio to enter the committee of the whole. Is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, we are in committee of the whole. The time is 6:03 p.m. And the first one up is the library. Okay, if you noticed, you guys you've got a time limit. The library's got 15 minutes. And so the special meetings have been noticed to end at 8 o'clock. So we're going to try to stay as close to that as possible. Okay, Zane.
All right, Zane Treesh, Library Director for the Wasilla Public Library. Leading off here with talking about our goals and I'll start off with our vision statement here. To continue to meet the informational and recreational needs of the community members. We do that through, we have various media, the books, the DVDs, through our programming. We have a lot of children's programming and adult programming. So our goal is to meet all kinds of needs anybody might have for information or some of those recreational things that they would seek at a library and expect to find at a library. Some of our accomplishments from that we had listed as goals and from last year, we continue to be the third busiest library in the state. We circulated approximately 240,000 physical items last fiscal year. We had 107,000 people through the doors on our counter. And just those two numbers alone puts us behind Anchorage and Fairbanks, but ahead of Juneau with all of their branches combined. Our goal number one last year was to continue to offer educational training for our staff. We were able to do that through the webinars, some in-person classes, online training, especially with the cataloging area. We were able to get some more people up to speed with copy cataloging, which is important because we're adding about 5,000 to 6,000 items a year. We do all of our own processing, we do our copy cataloging, we do some original cataloging. It's important that we have enough staff to keep up with that kind of volume. Our goal number two last year was to add a Library Aide 3 position, which we were able to do that. That position started in July. They're helping with cataloging and then also with the adult programming. And we've already seen results of that. We have a programming right now that the Friends are helping out with, but it's a senior, it's a lifetime arts class that is going on. It's been very popular. They're just wrapping that up here after 8 weeks. It's been bringing new patrons in at an age group that we haven't reached out to as much before. It's been, they're already clamoring for the next class. We're gonna be working with getting grants hopefully for next year to offer 2 more of those classes. They're 8-week courses with an instructor. We also had programming with this particular position that was able to do programming for a puzzle day that 30 people attended. They did a day with online, or a class on online, well, as email, learning email. We get patrons of all kinds that come in and different levels of skill level on that. So we offered a class for them to be able to learn some of the basics. We had some people attend for that. If we moving on to goal number 1 here for this year, we're looking at like to see budget funding to upgrade our library collection to the RFID tagging. And what this does is it's currently all the books we have, you have a barcode that you put on them, and then you call numbers and things like that. But the barcode, every time you check it in, you scan it. It's a physical, you scan it, set it aside. To check it out, you have to scan each individual item. What RFID tagging does is it has a tag that goes in place of the barcode that it sends out a signal. They've been used in libraries for about 20 years now. And they send a signal so you can check, when you're checking in books, I mean, we're doing about 20,000 items a month. So it's important to try to see where we can reduce some of this repetitive motion. And so the RFID tagging allows you to put a stack on one of these RFID pads, and it'll check them like 4 to 6 at one time. Then you just set them aside, get the next group. Checking out's the same way. So I think it also allows us to do inventory a lot easier. You can have, with inventory, you can literally, I haven't actually seen it done, although I've heard about it and read about it. You can go down the stacks with a mechanism that it can tell you what's out of place, what's missing as you go through the stacks. It reduces inventory from having to be closed for 2 weeks, if we were to go that route, to being done in just a day or so while being open. It's incredible technology. Anchorage Public Library has this system already. Soldotna, Kenai, Homer, various other libraries throughout the state have it. It's been, like I said, nationally for about 20 years. I'd like to see us go that way. I think at the cost, I've got quotes out. I've got requested quotes from 2 companies, and they're looking at their ballpark. I'm looking at probably 50 to 70,000 maybe. But once I get those actual hard quotes, I'll have a better idea there. I think there's a lot of benefits to it. If it saves the city one workman comp, I think it'd pay for it in itself. I mean, just from having that repetitive motion and those kind of things. It also lets us keep up with the workflow that we're doing. So goal 2 is we're looking at this fiscal year. We were council approved, or the budget. We had a proposal to look at adding on to the staff area at the library, which is I feel is necessary to with our current, and goal number 3 ties in with this, but goal number 2 is we're getting to where we have enough. The staff we have now, our 4 part-time staff have to share computers. There's not any space to grow workspace for staffing to have work areas. And then with the volume of processing that we do, it's very cramped, and they add more people into that. It's just gonna be more crowded. This ties in actually with the RFID, and then goal number 3. With the RFID, if we're building onto a space, and we're not talking a huge area, maybe 1,500 to 2,000 square feet, I'd like to try to get the money through grants, through that, pay for it that way, the best of our ability. But it allows, if we're constructing a space, adding on to it, and the proposal is seeing what's feasible and what's not. But if we do, we can look at, if we're able to implement RFID, they have machines that people can return their books and they're checked in automatically through the RFID, and then they're doing a rough sort. That's a kind of a long-term goal, but if you don't have a place to put one, it would never happen. It helps streamline the workflow. RFID reduces mistakes. And so if we did implement it, just the RFID part, we'd still be open, and we'd be doing that as we go. As we're open, and we'd go along and change the tags over, or add tags as we went. Goal number 3 is probably similar. to the ones you've seen before. Goal number 3, we're looking to try to expand library hours on Mondays to begin with. The reason why this is coming up, to do that, we're busy enough at the library that we have 4 workstations that we keep an employee at all times. We have 2 at the circulation desk, 1 at the reference desk, which also handles our calls and registration. We also have another person nearly always at the book drop, because we have so much coming in. We want to keep up on what's coming in, so we have an accurate record when they check out that it's already been cleared from their account when they dropped it off. Because we have 4 people, it takes to do a shift change of more than 4 hours. You need another 4 people to do that. And we're open 6 days a week right now. And so our Mondays and our Saturdays, to cover those 4 desks, we're short. We're open 4 hours on Monday, 2 to 6, and we're open on Saturday 1 to 5. Monday is a very it's a little awkward because we're open normally at 10:30 during the week in the morning, and then but being Monday at 2, people are constantly coming in thinking we open at 10:30. If we have the staff and the ability to open at 10:30 and make the hours uniform, I think it'd help the public. It would allow people to visit the library those additional hours, and I think it would streamline some of the patron interactions that they have. They get frustrated when they come and even though the hours have been the same for over 10 years, people still come in at 11 or 12 and are disappointed when they can't get in. And Monday's our busiest day per number of patrons per hour. So we're open 4 hours. We often have 200 or more people in during those 4 hours. It's pretty intense 4 hours on Monday. So our long range goal, and to be able to do that, would take just 1 or 2 more positions, which ties into having a place to put the positions, and then also the staffing to do that. So I'm looking at that more of a long range goal, to try to forward think it, and then look at adding hours possibly on Saturday. We might be able to do that as well. It's just trying to start where the need is most evident. So those are the slides I had. I wanted to leave time for questions since we've got about.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you. Thank you, Zane. So one of the things I would like to hear, not necessarily tonight, but at some time in the future, particularly when we enter the goals and initiatives and budgeting process, is how do our hours compare with other libraries, city-owned libraries, and particularly city-owned libraries that do not receive external funding. We have thought for years it would be nice to expand the availability of the library for the citizens, but then again, we receive no support from the borough to do that, even though the borough fully funds some other libraries. So I would be interested to see, how does our library compare hours-wise with other libraries? And I realize some libraries are busier, some are not busier, some cities have multiple libraries, that sort of thing. But when we get into that goals and initiatives, if you're going to bring this forward, I would like to see that kind of information if you can corral it.
I could give you a rough idea if we have time, unless there's other questions that you want to have now. Or...
I have another question.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have that for next.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So in goal number 1, was it goal number 2? I'm sorry. In your accomplishments, you said that we were the 3rd busiest in the state. In 2024, Palmer Library was closed. Do you anticipate reduction in traffic in 2025 now that Palmer Library has opened?
So Palmer Library in February of 23, that's when they went down, and our numbers spiked. For the month of March, we circulated 27,000 items in 1 month, and it did increase so fiscal year 23, which was which had February, March, April. We had 105,000 patrons and about 240,000 circs. Palmer opened their temporary location in May of that year, and that did not draw near as much as they had when they had their own building. So I did think it would go down some, but between FY23 and FY24, our numbers have stayed steady. They went from 105 to 107. They actually went up 2,000 in FY24. Now, of course, Palmer's still closed their main library. I mean, they don't have a dedicated building, just the temporary location. And our patrons went up 2,000, and our cert count stayed level, with people getting used to Palmer. Part of what I'm anticipating is the growth in the area and the number of people that are continuing to use the library on a day-to-day basis. If we want to get more people to the library for programming, for instance, all we do is put something on Facebook. We don't do that because it overwhelms us. They did it one time and we had 308 people come to look at a porcupine. I think with the growth of the area and with the uncertainty at Palmer right now, you're looking at probably at least 2 years for them to have a building built if they start now. That by the time they get their building built, our growth has, yeah. But does that
Thank you.
help?
Answer my question.
Okay.
Thank you, Zane.
Thank you. Thanks, you council.
Up next is finance. Cassie.
Good evening, everyone. Let's see here. All right, so our vision for this finance department is to be a trusted steward of the city's resources, execute an accurate and efficient financial processes, meet our regulatory and fiduciary responsibilities while providing relevant financial information to its stakeholders to enable them to be well-informed leaders and decision makers. This coming up year and for the next foreseeable future, currently the finance department will be having one goal, and that is enhancing and expanding the city's technology infrastructure, which is currently goal number 2, and initiative 6, 7, 8, and 9. So our strategy 1 was to conduct a workflow analysis, which we completed in FY 2024, and to implement an enterprise resource planning or an ERP system in the fiscal years of 2025 to 2027 to optimize and efficiency and enhance our overall effectiveness. We want to thank you that was approved on the last council meeting on November 25th to Tyler Technologies. We are currently in the process of getting everything signed and purchase orders and contracts and all that legal stuff that we need to do. We will begin implementation starting in January of 2025, which will begin the rigorous of implementations and conversions that will continue on up into 2027, probably through 2028. For that, we also have some accomplishments from 2024. So we researched and selected our new ERP vendor as per the goal. We've also created processes and procedures for GASB 87 and 96, which are 2 huge pronouncements that happened for our audit processes that have entailed probably close to over, I would say, anywhere from 25 to 30 hours of additional audit time. That causes us to review every lease that the city has and every contract of technology subscriptions that we possibly could have either, which equates to roughly about over 100 of those contracts that we review annually and have to go through a checklist and the different parts of that. So we've created some procedures within the finance office to make that easier for us. And we've also, while managing our day-to-day operations, have managed and reported over $34.6 million in grants in 2024. That's currently what is being audited in our 2024 financial report. That is over 45 grants that we currently are managing. And that estimated currently right now with the approval of roughly additional 10 million that has happened currently in the fiscal year 2025, that has rose to almost $44 million. We do have, the other part I'd like to mention is that our finance department has several areas of responsibility. Our main function is obviously budget and audit, which happens on our annual basis that we deal with. But we also deal with the sales tax and business licensing. And to give you an idea, in a fiscal year, our current sales tax processes for business license, we have currently 3,035 business licenses that are currently active in the city limits or outside city limits. And currently we are in the renewal licenses, which happen annually, which requires us to renew all 30,000 of those licenses every year and take a look at all those active licenses. We also process close to 36,000 annually sales tax forms on which equates to roughly over 3,000 forms per month. And then we also, with the new Alaska Regional or Alaska Remote Sales Tax Commission, which is RSTC, we started out smaller on the end in about 2021. We have grown to over 1,600 returns that come in monthly on that, which equates to roughly 19,200. All those returns are manually entered into our system currently as it stands because of our ERP system not being able to talk back and forth between our two sales tax form and our current financial software. Also in regards to that, we do our utility and assessment buildings for the water and sewer department. We have over 2,000 customers. We bill them on a monthly basis. Equates to about 22,000 bills that we send out on a month and collect for through all the processes that we have with that. In our accounts payable department, we have issued roughly 3,290 vendor checks out the door through the fiscal year, equating to over those $50 million in payments out to vendors or through payroll. And in regards to payroll, we also do our processing for our staff. Is processing 27 payrolls every other week, roughly about 4,480 payroll checks that we are issuing per year, with everything on the benefit side that happens along with that. Another area that we have is we are responsible for all the leasing and the airport tie downs. So we manage all the leases that belong to that. We process all the auto payments and all the lease lot payments and all the insurance that goes along with those. Another area that we have is procurement. We have issued over 570 purchase orders in 2024, and we have sent out and tabulated 41 RFPs or ITBs, which are our information to bid. So we have processed all those. And therefore, at the end of that, we also have another area that we have is our risk management. So we manage all of our insurances between property, liability, auto insurance claims, workers' comp, any of that information that we have. So we are a busy department with lots of areas of responsibility and lots of different divisions within inside that department. And so that is kind of our accomplishments of keeping the day-to-day operations flowing so that the rest of the departments can manage what they need to do to get things done. With that, I will open up to any questions.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you. Thank you, Cassie. So a couple of questions, and I'll just go through them all at once, and then you can answer them as you see fit. Your bullet number 3, they're managed and reported on over about $35 million worth of grants. Is the finance department the department that is responsible for grant reporting? Because I know the financial reporting of the grants is only part of the grant reporting. So is the finance department the one, the final arbiter of saying, yes, we filled all these squares for this grant? And then the second thing is we currently have a couple of different computer systems or management systems or whatever you mentioned, redoing business licenses and other things. How much of that is currently automated versus someone loads something in and then it has to be, someone applies for a business license and then someone in your department has to physically go through, and verify and so on and so forth, versus, and it's my understanding that the new ERP will cut down on that and will help consolidate multiple programs into one more easily used, both for the citizens and for the staff. So if you could comment on those things.
For the grant management side, it has a twofold on it. So there are the fiduciary responsibility of financial reports that we report on, and we match those. Those fiscal reports are usually matched up to the budget documents that have been submitted through the application and approved by the granting agency. Certain grants that we have require program reports, such as the FAA requires those, which those are done through the Public Works Department. They're submitted back through us, and then we file it as a package for reimbursement. And we have to have both of those to be reimbursed for our expenditures that were expensed through that. So it kind of depends on the granting agency. At the end of the day, when it comes through on an audit and the auditors are going through all of our financial responsibilities and going through that, it is our responsibility to make sure all the boxes are checked and making sure that all those program reports and everything were filed on that part of it. In regards to the software part of it, so most of our sales tax forms are electronically filed if you are a monthly filer through our MuniRevs program, and the system automatically generates that. The only time that we are involved with that is if there's an error possibly that doesn't make sense within the system of the algorithms that are behind the scenes, or if a person did not pay, it will go into a collection status and we will call in talk to the business or individual to see if we can get collections for that. In regards to business licenses, we actively approve each and every one of those. It is electronically filed by the individual into the system. The system runs a set of algorithms behind the scenes, and it figures out whether or not it is needing approval from the planning department, possibly, if it's a new business, if it needs a permit or something along those lines. And depending on that, it goes into approval status, and we make sure and verify that all the information that they have put on that application that has been approved.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Madam
Kathy.
Chair, through the mayor. Cassie, when you with the new ERP is all downloaded, you guys have worked out the bugs and have your sanity back. Will that system allow you to then move to electronic payroll stubs, W-2s, 1099s, so that it should save you a lot of labor?
Correct, yes.
Thank
That
you.
is correct.
Okay, thank you, Cassie. Public Works, Eric.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and the City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to come speak with you tonight. It was really exciting to watch all the presentations last night and just kind of hear the common theme that we're doing our best to work together. And so, we work with everyone else, especially with their bigger projects. So with Zane and Bethany and Scott, we're trying to be there to be supportive whenever they need it. And also we collaborate between Cassie and I on the CIP development. So we'll be talking about that in the next coming months. Tonight we want to talk about some of the things that we've accomplished with internally with Public Works and with our partners. So our vision statement of Public Works is to provide safe, resilient, and efficient services and infrastructure to the City of Wasilla businesses, residents, and as Zane said, the broader community for the Mat-Su Borough. Everyone shops in Wasilla, and so we know there's the pressure of the entire borough on our facilities, and so that weighs on our mind every day. I have a slide here on this first of our problem reporter. This is that agreement that we have with the borough where they let us jump in on their program to receive notifications of streetlights that are out or anything else that you notice. And so this is just a plug to to use this. If you see anything, let your friends and neighbors and families know that we're accountable through that program, and it's really helpful for anyone to drop a pin and say, hey, this thing's broken, or I noticed that thing over there. And if it isn't ours, then we forward it on to the right group, if it's the borough or if it's the state or if it's MEA. But you get to know what happened with that, because if you put your information in, you will be alerted to who's handling it for you. And I personally use it too. If I see a street light out over on the way to Palmer, I put it in if I can't figure out what to do.
Madam Mayor, real quick, where do you find that for the public?
So for the public, I would go to that Matsu Borough Problem Reporter. I'd search that in Google, and it'll take you right to their page. And you can see their, they call it a portal, and you can make a login or you don't have to, but their Matsu Problem Reporter portal page is pretty easy to follow. You can also download an app on your phone. That's a little more complicated to explain at this meeting, but they walk you through it. And what that lets you do is register it. And like I said, some people are, if you want to do it anonymously, you can. But if you want to hear about the progress of your report, I recommend you put your name and your email address in, and you'll see when that's closed. They've also rolled out, just plug for the borough, they have their winter maintenance portal on that too. So you can see where the RSA contractor for your neighborhood, most of them, they're still getting every contractor on the right contract to do that. But I think 9 contractors are on right now this year, including Battleground, which is the RSA 14, which has some of our trade-out properties on the south of town. You can see where their contractors have been, where their drivers have been. They have an app on their phone. They say, I'm starting the plow, and it keeps track of where they've been. And you get, hourly updates, basically, if you want to log in and see if they're coming or if they've been there or kind of where they are in their process. It's pretty neat.
And for the problem reporting, does our website homepage have a direct link to the?
It does.
Yes.
Our first goal is to support growth within the city limits and the surrounding area with resilient, redundant infrastructure, and that requires our critical infrastructure expansions, upgrades, replacements, increased connectivity, lots and lots of things. We have a lot of accomplishments to be very proud of this year. So it touches on many of the city council's goals as well. Our Richmond Hills booster station is probably the most noteworthy resiliency upgrade. So if you hadn't made it on one of our infrastructure tours, this is over up behind Planet Fitness and by the, what's the name of your?
Enterprise.
Thank you.
In the Alaska Cove and Creekside Plaza.
Yes, up on Enterprise. So it is a pump station that takes water from our main pressure zone, pumps it up over the hill, serves Lowe's and everything up on the Sun Mountain Plateau, if you will, and then it drops down to Walmart, and that water moves all the way down to the ranch neighborhood because of that pump station. It was old, it had reliability issues, and so more than 2 years ago the project started. It used ARPA money, it had some grants involved in it, so that is up and running and providing reliable flow and pressure to everyone upstream of that. But we've also leveraged even more technology to make sure it's working the way we want to, and we'll talk more about that. We're diligently working on the Wasilla Palmer Water Interconnect project. We're working on the Herman Road Water Tower project. We're currently installing this microturbines at Spruce, which is our most important water source. So that will be another feather in our cap here next year. We have many water and sewer repairs going on. Unfortunately, we're still in the find it, fix it mode. We haven't gotten into the proactive repairs. We had that major water leak up on Bogard earlier in the summer that we'll talk more about soon. We've also expanded the Apron E project. We're working on the runway extension project, and we've replaced many septic tanks. And so these are just some photos of that. So the upper left-hand photo is the new tank that's going into the Carson Cottle Center. That's a very large septic tank there. Just to remind you on our relationship, so when with a sewer water service. When a new service goes in such as this, it's paid for by the developer. But in 25 years, 30 years, when it needs to be replaced, that's borne by the city. That cost is borne by the city. So city owns up where that tank starts. The pipe that goes into that tank is owned by the owner of the property, but that tank is the city's. The pipe that goes to the pump station is the city's, and then everything beyond that is the city's. So there's always going to be a substantial infrastructure burden on the city. The other photo is the first train that stopped at the train depot. That was an exciting wintry day when that train pulled in, and it was very, very fun. It was really neat to see how many people showed up. That was a distinct goal, and so we're really excited to have the train using it. We'll be working through what the final build out of that facility is, but they're going to have a very successful and I think well-received winter season this year because of the hard work this summer. And so we're really excited to see how they value that and see what their ridership thinks of the new facility. The next photo is the Spruce Tower project, and it's a little hard to see. I had to shrink my photos down to fit them, but in the left hand of that little photo is a big blue generator. That was that Mitsubishi generator that gave us fits and kept going offline, and we had all those problems. That was removed. We're using an Alcantara, a borrowed Alcantara generator right now that we commandeered last year, got it running, never gave it back. And so it's up there as our backup as we wait, but our Spruce generator project's happening right now, and we're gonna be installing those right next door using Capstone generators, and that will be our initial power, or constant power, and we'll use MEA as our backup. We're gonna see a reduction in operational costs because of that. So we're pretty excited to see that come to fruition. The graph in the middle there, you see there that says 260,000 gallons a day, that was one leak. That was the water leak on Bogard. And that came about from a notice that we got from one of our DOT friends who was out doing some survey for the couplet project, and he said, "You've got water boiling outside of Bogard. You might want to check on that." So we did, and within a day, we had saved 250,000 gallons from fixing that each day. And so what I want to highlight was, as we bring in more data, as we build SCADA systems, as we get better at our reporting for MaintainX, the data we bring in, we need to know how to digest it. And so I just added some highlights to those lines. The orange line is showing the minimum flows that we had at night, which were over 400 gallons a minute, just all night long. Everyone's asleep. There's a diurnal cycle where everyone kind of goes to bed, and most people don't use water. And so the next day, it had gone down to about 200 gallons per minute. So that change saves us thousands of dollars a week in electrical bills, because all our water is turning electricity into water. We pump it out of the ground, and we let gravity take it to the rest of the town. And so if we don't have to pump that much, we don't have to pay that much for electricity. The other thing about that graph, which is interesting, there's kind of purple squiggles at the top. That is when our pumps run. And so it also means that our pumps are running 2/3 less, because they don't have to run if the flow rate's low enough. The tank stays full longer, and so our pumps are running less than 4 hours at a stint, and then they can coast. The tank has the freeboard, it goes down a few feet, and then it fills itself back up like a ginormous toilet tank. And so there's less wear on our pumps, there's less electricity used, and we're not putting good well water back into the ground for no reason. And the last photo is ribbon cutting that we had at the Apron E expansion, which added 27 new tie downs. And we used that opportunity and the really great bid to add even more transient tie downs. We added 5 more transient tie downs on top of the 27 at the airport.
So Eric, looking at that first photo there, the septic tank brings up kind of a general information thing. Now, a couple questions. Don't we currently have more customers on septic than we do on direct sewage disposal? And secondly, the sewage that is pumped from those tanks, which is done by the city, is that treated by the city, or is that shipped to Anchorage for treatment?
Yeah, great question. So we have fewer residents that are on sewer. They'll have their own, the lots are large enough that the residents can have their own septic tank. That's typically the least expensive way to go. So the number of homes that are on sewer are far less if we did it by average. All of our commercial are on sewer basically because of the proximity to the roads and because they tend to need larger tanks like this. So a vast majority of our sewer customers are commercial in some way, or high-density homes like condos and that sort of thing. Your second question about tank pumping, if we pump the tank, we take it to our sewer treatment plant for processing. We are not able to pump all of the tanks often enough. We're basically on track with the residential side of things, but for commercial, if you're a Fred Meyer's, a Walmart, a Target, we can't pump you as often as you need to be pumped, and we have to defer you to the contractors or to the private industry to pump you, and then they take that all to Anchorage. And so there's a need that's not, we can't meet for our mostly commercial customers to pump as often as they need to be pumped because of the number of people that use those facilities.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
quick question to go back to the goal one. The septic tank replacements, I can't remember what the goal was, you might, of what we were trying. I feel like it was in like 20, 30 for like the year.
I don't know if I ever put a year on it. We've had troubles getting our arms around it. We've had enough fires that I haven't been able to build a complete replacement schedule. What we've done so far is we've taken our utility records and put them on a map so we can figure out where they are, and then look at hot spots based on work orders. And we've sent out inspectors and said, let's go figure out where we're really concerned. We have a list of several dozen tanks just around Lake Lucille that we're really concerned about. And so our next step is to cut them up into manageable chunks and put those out because of the cost and say, here's an ITB for 5 to 7 tanks. Give us a quote, go and do it. And then forecast out. One of the things we have to do, and this gets back into like digesting our data, is go through and do a review or an audit, if you will, of what our records show they have for age. How old are our tanks? Because we really need to do like a reverse regression and say, what is our standard distribution of age, and then attack those that are the oldest. And so that's that deep dive into the data. We've digitized it, we've mapped where they are, and now we need to move into the get ahead of the problem, and that's kind of where we've got stuck this last summer with the projects we've been working on.
So how many do we replace
We've replaced 7 that I'm aware of so far.
for the fiscal year?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
thank you. Eric, going back to a little bit of what Stu was asking there. Now we're working on essentially redesigning our wastewater facility, kind of as a whole, from what I understand. Is our goal to start capturing and taking care of our commercial customers, and are we looking to move them off of their own septic tanks into more of the sewer style? Where are we looking at with this?
So we are definitely working on a long-term plan for the sewer treatment plant. It's going to have multiple phases to it. Your question about commercial, I believe our goal is that we provide all the service they need. We don't need them to farm it out. That goal may change. There may not be, we may still have a level where if we pump a large facility 3 times a year and they need it 4, we still say go and use the contractor. They could say to us, we'd rather pay them. It's really someone needs to do it. And so there's not a hard and fast demand. We want to be able to provide the permitted disposal that they need. The risk is that something happens in Anchorage, whether in their control or out of their control, and they can't take the sludge anymore. That's a broader, huge problem for the valley. But in the immediate effect on us, we know we're still relying on them too. And so we can't even support our paying customers. And so we need to plan for at the very minimum that, having the capacity for our paying customers. The broader question is just residents of the valley, what happens for anyone who's not on city sewer, who pays to have their septic pumped every few years by a contractor, and it can't go to Anchorage. That's one of those, if we do a SWOT analysis, that's a risk outside of our control, but it's definitely something to be thinking about.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I can.
Yes.
So question, my buildings are all private, so I pay for them to get taken. So are we taking commercial on in our city and we're telling them, no, we can't do it for you because of the workload? Or we're saying, no, this is a contract, we will take care of it? What are we doing with this?
That's a great question. We are not saying to customers, we will never pump you. We're telling customers that have higher usages, we can't pump you, so you need to have additional pumping. We have a schedule, and it's not a hard and fast rule, but residential is usually once every 3 years. And then as you get larger tanks or you get a different usage, it goes up to once every 2 years, and then commercial is usually once a year. And that's kind of where, and it's a historical standard that needs to be evaluated. There are many facilities that once a year is not enough, and that's where we have to work with them and say, you need to deal with this. The other thing that we're not able to accomplish really well is any restaurant that has any appreciable fats and oils, the fats, oils, and greases, our system doesn't handle that very well. It's very, very disruptive. It's a biological system, and so it wants stability, and so to add a large deposit of fats and oils is extremely disruptive. Anchorage's system is different. They have an incinerator, and they have a process where they actually inject it into the incinerator, and so they're not nearly as sensitive. So there are waste streams that we're better at managing, and then some that we just have to say we can't manage that. So there's definitely room for coordination and collaboration to provide the services that our customers need going forward.
And how would the new hotel developments affect?
So thankfully, hotel developments are, just regular house waste. There is a restaurant component, so they would immediately have a contractor dealing with their fats, oils, and greases. Volume-wise, the hotels are a significant impact, and so that's going into our calculations for the work we're doing right now on the sewer treatment plant as we ask for, we're going through the re-permitting process, and we're talking about higher flows within that permit to prepare for that. I apologize, I'm taking a long time. So goal 2 is to provide excellent customer service, as we were kind of discussing. And so we're working through that problem reporter, and also being more receptive to complaints from the public, and having implementing processes where a complaint has a response to it, so that you don't feel like you've sent your complaint out to the void and never hear back. And so brown water events are very disruptive for our community and very concerning, and so we've been very proactive at mapping where those are and putting together the data and figuring out what we can do. There's neighborhoods like the Ranch and Mission Hills that have water quality issues that flare up from time to time, and so this summer we had a very active flushing campaign, especially in Mission Hills, which I think was very successful. It didn't prevent more brown water issues, but it has reduced sediment in the line. It's also been very useful for us to use it as a inspection opportunity, if you will, to figure out where we have vulnerabilities in our infrastructure. And so we've got more work to do this next summer we need to get on some of the valves that are not accessible because of underground issues, soil getting in those valve boxes and stuff. So we have to get back in there and get more control, because one of the things we want to do is directionally move the water to use it as a tool to move that sediment out We've made steps in actually having signage that explains that we're flushing for water quality. Because it's pretty concerning to come home and see a hydrant leaking and no one standing around it when water tech is maybe flushing from 3 at a time. So we have signs that say, this is why we're out here. I think it builds goodwill to know that you're out about doing these things and someone didn't nefariously turn on the hydrant. We've also had a lot of brown water complaints at the bulk water station, which is, you know, a difficult thing to handle because it's, it's kind of interesting, the user group there, you have like directional drilling, contractors, water trucks and stuff that don't really care. And then you have people that are delivering water for hot tubs or remote cabins, and so their livelihood is about good-looking water, and so that's very disruptive. And then you have folks that drive in to get their own water because they live somewhere where they just don't have good well water, and so it's very disruptive to see your tank fill up with brown water. So we've added some filters on the smaller hose bib connections, and we've also made modifications to how the valves work to try not to stir up so much sediment in the lines. And then we have a standing flushing work order to just be preemptive about it. And our records are showing that that's been very effective. The number of brown water calls has gone down precipitously. So we're happy to see that we're getting ahead of it. We're happy to be able to show the public that we're trying to be proactive and not just make them feel ignored. The other picture up there that you see, the black map, is an asphalt inventory tool that we tried out. It's called, what's it called? Cloverview, I think. Anyway, it's an interesting tool that we got to try for free just to see how it works. But what I like about it is basically it's a phone that you hung from your windshield and you drove around, and it kept track of where you were, like a kind of Google Street View. And then it used AI to look at the photos and then say, I think that's a pothole. I think that's a pothole. And then you go back in and all those marks are things that thought were potholes, and you could look at them and say, yeah, that is a pothole. And so there are communities that have codes that say we're going to go and check, we're going to drive our streets a certain amount of times, and we're going to show that we have this level of service. And so that's kind of how that product was built. But it's pretty neat to see how we can do things, kind of like what Zane was saying about improving efficiencies with the same number of people with RFID stuff. If you're already going to be driving around and you have a vehicle there, why not see what data you can collect? So I don't know if we'll use that product anytime soon. I think we've got other problems to fix before that, but it's neat to see the technology that's available. And then the last is just a graph looking at how we can evaluate our effectiveness during different levels of work orders. So we're very proactive in our asset management program, and so we keep very good records, both written, pictorial, and then financial, so that we can start to see what the effects of letting things run to failure is on our bottom line. Our last goal is to utilize enterprise asset management to maintain and modernize the city infrastructure. So, the broad idea is that we need to know from the smallest work order up to what the total cost of an asset is, so that decision makers such as yourself can say, I don't know if we can afford this anymore, or what do we think the life cycle cost will be for this piece of infrastructure, or when DOT says, hey, we're going to rebuild Main Street, or we're going to give it to you in the end, we want to know what that's going to cost. And the way we do that is by having accurate metrics. We already know what cruising costs, and so we can extrapolate from that, and we can just make better decisions as we move forward with long-lasting decisions. A couple of these graphs up here, the wiggly one that with less color on it, that is a recent compilation of the work orders that we've done through Public Works with our MaintainX. So we're up over 24,000 work orders. You see that spike there? That was adding all of the fire hydrants in to be inspected and prepared for winter. And so that drove our completion rate down because we entered 500 fire hydrants in, and then it took them time to work through it. But you can see that they did it in quite a quick time, about a couple weeks. And that entails going to all the fire hydrants, inspecting them, repairing them if they need it, and then pumping them dry so that they're available for fire during the winter, making sure that they have flags on them if they need it, and just being ready for that. And so, we'll start to see that seasonally as we get ready, but those are very important pieces of infrastructure. And we'll be touching them this winter if they get hit by a car or a plow or something, or if the fire department needs them and uses them, then they let us know and we go back out there and we make sure they're dry and ready to go for the next time. So we're slowly continuing to build our database and refine how we catalog it, and then just get that data in there so that we can make good decisions from it. The other graph, I had to squint to see it. The other graph is just kind of highlighting how we're trying to go from reactive to proactive. So there's the green lines, which are preventative work, and then there's the blue lines, which are reactive and based on failures. And so this is just a couple more pictures of some accomplishments. I mentioned that the Richmond Hills Booster Station is a very important, resilient piece of infrastructure. The graph that has all the squiggly lines on it is data that we're collecting from a couple sensors, one of which is permanently installed in Lowe's, and it's letting us know how we're doing in providing constant pressure to Lowe's 24 hours a day. One of the things that would happen is anytime there's a fault in the old Richmond Hills Booster Station, Lowe's would basically lose all water pressure, and we'd use them as a reservoir. And the booster station didn't know it was doing that, and so we'd get a complaint from Lowe's or Planet Fitness or one other business up there saying our toilets don't flush again. And so we put a cellular sensor up there that is actually designed to live on fire hydrants, but of course you can't do that during the winter. It is constantly monitoring how that pressure is going, and we can see, and we made tweaks. We saw some inefficiencies in the first programming for those pumps, used that data and had it fixed, and so we're seeing really good levels of service up there. And so we're really excited to not have Lowe's feeling frustrated with us. The colorful map is the start of a facility master plan that we're building. So part of the interconnect project is to connect our water systems to Palmer's, and you need to be able to model what our water system does so that it connects to Palmer's. And to do that, you need to have an accurate map. And to do that, you have to go through the historical records that are just a hodgepodge from over the years of expansion. And so that will be one of the first deliverables that we receive for the interconnect project is an updated, accurate map. And so this is fresh from last week, but I'm just really excited to see all of the infrastructure that had been kind of cartoon doodles going into a really accurate map that has the information we need to actually put it into numerical models that will be used for flow calculations, and will even have benefits for like the fire department as they continue to try to keep everyone's fire insurance low. The last picture is our roads Vector truck giving a public presentation to some middle school kids that wanted to learn about infrastructure. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Kathy?
Madam Mayor, Eric, what, do you know just approximately what percentage of our residential properties are on private wells versus on city water?
I would say 3/4 of our properties are on private wells.
Okay, does the city have a program or have an avenue for private well owners to be able to test their wells, test their water?
To
Quality?
see how their water quality is?
Yes.
We don't at the moment. Is that something that you think they would benefit from?
I do, you know, with the amount of arsenic in the water in Alaska, and we have areas that are very high in calcium and lime and rust. It makes a difference in your water systems at homes and what kind of water treatment systems you should have.
Agreed.
And have just never asked if the city did testing or if they have an avenue where people can send their water out to test.
I'm happy to look into that. We haven't had that public outreach before, but I agree. I think we put a lot of care and feeding into making sure our water system's good, safe, and trustworthy and reliable, and trying to not cause ourselves more problems by shrugging off brown water. And so I think a program that builds trust and to support our neighbors that maybe aren't on our water system but are still our neighbors, I think that makes tons of sense.
Thank you.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you. So, Eric, we have quite a few commercial properties in the system that have both well water and have access to city water. So I'm not sure what our policy is, but typically these commercial folks, if they're have a large need for non-treated water, they use their well, but for the treated water, drinking water, that sort of stuff, they use the city's water. Do we have a policy in the city about, can you still use well water after you hook up to city water?
We do. The policy tends to be, it relates to how close you are to a water main. And so usually the expectation is, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, I think it's within 150 feet. If there's a water main within a certain proximity of your property, we typically expect you to connect to our water system. One of the things that drives connection, especially in commercial businesses, is the fire code. It's very expensive to build a system to meet fire code and not rely on the city water. And so that's our selling point with commercial entities within city water system, is to say, we have the water capacity, we have the water distribution to give you that coverage you need if your building needs to be sprinklered. Because if it needs to be sprinklered and you don't have that access, you have very strict pump requirements, reservoir requirements, and that infrastructure is very expensive for a commercial entity.
Okay, I probably, good information, but I probably misstated my question. So for those entities that have converted over, that have hooked up to city water because of the 150-foot requirement, but still have an active well, can they continue to use that active well even though they're hooked up to the city and paying, because for commercial, essentially they're paying gallonage fees, whereas at my home, I pay a flat fee, for water and sewer. So for many businesses, it's cheaper for them to water their lawn with the well than it is for them to water the lawn with the city water. Is that?
Yeah, I think I see what you're saying. There is plumbing code involved in that. One of the things that would be required is to have a backflow preventer. We take ownership and we take responsibility for the water system, and so then we have infrastructure requirements. So if you had a well, and even in fire systems, the fire system has a backflow preventer because that water sits stagnant in your system. If you had two sources of water, EPA and DEC are going to require us to not let your system backflow into ours. So there are uses where, there are systems where you could have two choices, but we just need to know there's a mechanical separation that won't allow some incident either from the well or, anything internal. For instance, janitorial mop sinks and stuff, those have the history of having the hose left in the bucket. And so there's a risk in a low pressure event that you withdraw water out of that and it could contaminate the system. So that's what a plumbing code says. You need to have a backflow preventer. So that's typically what's required, is a backflow preventer, just to keep us isolated in one direction.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Next up is MATCOM.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Backwards. Okay, so I wanted to show off the MATCOM sign. To transform, we're building for tomorrow, and our goal is to transform MATCOM into a forward-thinking, technology-driven emergency communications center that meets the needs of the demands of next-generation 911 and ensures the highest standard of service and supports the professional growth of our staff. We're working to improve our communication, transparency, and community engagement by building out a page on our website and an active social media presence for the 911 Emergency Communications Center. This strategic plan focuses on enhancing our infrastructure, updating operational protocols, and investing in our workforce. And that meets those goals that the council set out of 2, 5, 6, 7, 20, 21, 24, 25, and 26. We have updated our mission and vision, and our new mission is to provide exceptional, reliable, and timely communication services that ensure the safety and well-being of our community and public safety partners. And with that, we are committed to delivering swift, accurate emergency response coordination, maintaining clear, compassionate communication with callers during critical moments, an emphasis there on customer service, and supporting our first responders with the information they need to protect and serve effectively, and upholding the highest standards of professionalism, technology, and preparedness to meet the evolving needs of our community. I like acronyms. I won't read that to you. So our first goal is the workforce investment, recruitment, training, and development. Building a skilled, adaptable, and resilient team by focusing on recruitment, advancing training, and career development. And those were goals 5, 20, and 24. Part of that, with our first goal on workforce and development, was to aid in achieving those goals by changing up our training program. And if you're not aware, it takes 8 to 9 months to train a dispatcher and 4 to 5 months to train a call taker. So we're trying to get them onto the floor quicker. We've lost several people this year. We've gained several people. We just recently, we have 7 in training right now, and 2 of them are getting ready to be released the middle of December, and another one shortly thereafter in January. So our workforce is almost where we need it to be for a minimum staffing level and to reduce some of the overtime we've had. It's been a stressful last few months, but we're finally rounding that curve and getting into the final stretch here of all the overtime that they've been subjected to. But we have implemented pod training. A huge piece of that was attending some of the, I attended APCO and NENA conferences this year down in Orlando, and those are so important, and I really wanted to take my staff as well, a few people, to those training events, but we were so short-staffed that I didn't have the capabilities. Well, I did take one team member to the NENA conference, but the APCO conference, we weren't able to release anyone to come with me just due to staffing levels, but they were so important. And getting just ideas and working with others in the industry on how can we recruit more. 85% of the 911 centers across the United States are short-staffed. So it's a national thing. It's not just here in the Valley or in Alaska. But we started implementing pod training. So one training officer is working with 2 dispatchers at a time, and sometimes up to 4, and it's really been great. You see the teamwork between them, and them kind of, they're learning from each other as they're learning how to call take or how to dispatch. So it's been really a good process, and it's optimizing this recruiting process. We're also now training them up into to where they're more proficient in one specific area, so just fire and EMS, training on that, getting proficient, and releasing them on their own. So they kind of builds that confidence, and they also rely on their team members, as always, but then we'll move them once they're at feeling like they're confident in those skills, and then we'll move them over to the Alaska State Troopers desk or our NCIC desk or our Wasilla PD desk. So changing it up's really been a big improvement, and I've seen the morale just really increase with seeing that happen, and instead of just they're having to train back to back to back to back. It's just daunting sometimes coming into work to do that. So in addition, we have been able to hire some lateral training, some lateral hires, experienced professionals. They're being able to come on and really hit the ground running, and we've been able to, like I said, we'll have 2 of them. They started at basically the beginning of October, and they're ready to be released here in the middle of December. So really saved a lot on the training time. So again, we want to invest in our employees, work on promotion. And one thing I would like to look forward to some point down the road is having the assistance with the city, being forward-thinking and looking to be the first to recognize our dedicated 911 professionals as true public safety. The OMB has them listed as clerical, and that is something we're trying to change at the national level. And I am the current president of the Alaska State Chapter of APCO and NENA, and we're working on that pretty hard to get our legislators to make that change so that dispatch can have the same resources that our other first responders have access to. So,
If I could
yes.
take a pause here when it comes to employee recruitment, training and development. Do we, or does any other state have a program where they work with the university or with private places like, for instance, Charter College, just off the top of my head, to help develop some of the decision-making skills that a call taker or a dispatcher would need, prior to coming to you and going in? I mean, there's AvTech, there's all sorts of things out there, and it's a very specialized, very demanding
It is.
function. Or is there any? You mentioned you're president of the local, not the local, but the state chapter, and you're attending conferences nationwide, sort of things.
There's things in the industry where you can get certifications and different programs to help out. But as far as at your local school level, I know things have been tried in other places. It's just so specialized. Everyone uses a different CAD, which is a computer-aided dispatch. Everyone has a different records management system. And so it's really hard to train. The easiest one would probably be just a basic telecommunicator course where you kind of give an overview of what 911 is, what they do, and how they do it. But it's such a hard thing. I mean, even me coming into MATCOM, from having years in 911, it's very different than a lot of 911 centers. They do a lot of specialized things because of our contracts. So it's hard to just teach 911.
And is there an emphasis nationwide to try and standardize the programs that are used? So, I know with police departments, well, the chief's not here today, but a lot of things are standardized throughout the nation and then individualized to meet the needs of the city or the state or whatever. Is there any movement nationwide, funded by Congress to try and come up with kind of a standard and then maintain that standard and improve that standard at a national level so that, let's say you move to Tallahassee, I mean, you shouldn't have to go through a 7-month training program to get online.
Yeah, and not really. I mean, there are some companies that have, like our call taking, we have emergency medical dispatch, emergency fire dispatch. There's also a protocol for emergency law enforcement dispatch. I'm wanting to add that one to help. I found it kind of interesting just even talking with one of our call takers, and she said, I came out of the training knowing how to handle a medical call and a fire call because I have this script in front of me. But then when it came to law enforcement, we don't do that. And so it wasn't as easy to figure out how to answer those questions because there's not a script. And I guess the younger ones maybe need that script. I've always said I can sit down and take a call anywhere as your basic who, what, when, where, why, how. But yeah, it's something that I think just having that script gives you that confidence and that ability to move forward with the call. So there are companies that have those. There's several different ones that offer different varieties. The National Academy of Emergency Dispatch is the one we use. It's a good one, and it's, if you have your certification there, you can go anywhere and log in and do the program. It's just a matter of learning the specific protocols and how you handle calls at those agencies.
Right, but you wouldn't get certified until after you're already a dispatcher. What I'm looking for is workforce development. I mean,
You can
what I'm
actually
hearing
take
is
that
there really
without-
isn't anything to assist you with the workforce development. You said you're kind of minimally, you're at your minimum acceptable level, which I'm
Right.
assuming is probably 80% of your authorized staffing or somewhere
Right
around
in
there.
there, yeah.
But I'm just trying to think ahead for workforce development. I'd much rather see you at 100%. So.
Me too, and I want actually 110% because I would like to overhire. So that's my goal. But yeah, we are finally on the upward trend in hiring and retaining staff. I just want to throw some stats out to you on the next page here. So the addition of the assistant manager that we had this year has helped alleviate my workload. I've now been able to more actively work on our contracts with our partner agencies. This year, we added in to the borough wanted their animal control officers to be able to be tracked and have them access to the radio, and we could check on them. They have an actually dangerous job out there. You go to take someone's animal, people aren't usually very happy, or just going out for any kind of a call like that. So we assisted them in getting that taken care of, and I can tell you the borough was very happy with that. And so just doing things like that. I was able to renegotiate the SEOC contract at an additional, I don't remember, more $20-some thousand more than what we'd had. And our 511 contract, we renegotiated that. So the borough's wanting to renegotiate ahead of contract and add another fire and EMS dispatcher. So they're ready to do that now, but I have to have the staffing to do that. And then Department of Public Safety has told me they're extremely happy with their contract with us, and they will be moving forward with us as well, because we're at the end of being able to renew automatically. But anyway, I've been working on those contracts with our partner agencies. I've been actively working on what we can do to implement next generation 911 technology. This advanced system is going to enhance our ability to receive and process emergency communications, including text, video, data, and providing a robust backup capabilities to safeguard against disruptions. Our next generation 911 is going to ensure that our community has access to a dependable and modern 911 system that's capable of meeting the evolving needs and demands of public safety. The addition of the assistant manager to oversee the operations at MATCOM has enhanced efficiency and ensures better resource allocation. It's been providing additional leadership for our growing responsibilities. They've been key to, this position is key to helping with succession planning. And if I'm out of the office, they have someone just immediately to be able to report to. A big part with our staffing levels has been the schedule. It takes so much to work through that schedule to make sure you have 24/7 coverage at all the desks. And then we've been doing hot times and zones on when we can go down to a very reduced level. So just being able to get the statistics on that, on when we can go to our very minimum, and then putting people on call if we needed to has been helpful. But we'd like to not have that and have the resources sitting there and available, obviously, by being fully staffed. But there's a paradox that 911 centers not liking change are not liking change, but they want it, and it's rooted in high stakes and high pressure nature of emergency dispatch work. Our dispatchers and leaders want improvements that enhance the efficiency and reduce stress, but they often resist the uncertainty that comes with implementing change. And Joel's been a great asset to help with the operations and ensuring that our technology updates are well thought out and don't resort to any poorly executed changes. Just to throw some call statistics out there, for 2024, through September, I don't have latest numbers, but we've had 72,182 CAD calls, 163,920 administrative calls, and 28,404 911 calls. So with our budget, that equates to $36.41 to process each call, which I think is a really good standard. In 2023 and 2024, our 911 staff was 28 dispatchers and call takers. You allowed me in 24-25 to go to a staff of 30, which was 20 dispatchers, 5 call takers, and 5 supervisors. I had 1 technical support and technical support 1 and a technical support 2 and an administrative assistant. And then we included the assistant communications manager, over a total of 35 with myself. For 25 and 26, I would love to be able to get to a staff of 34 due to the borough wanting to add more. And we are looking good at getting fully staffed this year in the 2024-2025 budget. We just closed our call taker applicants. We had 8 applicants. I do have 3 openings for call taker. And then our dispatcher, emergency dispatcher position is open through the end of December. And we have 3.5 positions open. So.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Johnson.
Yes.
Going back to your goal to transition to the next gen, this last year we had several outages of 911. Is this, within this goal, is this gonna fix the problems that we had with availability?
Yes, you know, nothing's ever foolproof with technology, but yes, there's, the big key is getting into next-gen core services, which is something that the Department of Public Safety is looking at doing. I'm hoping that we can get involved in that and that'll pass their budget. So that, and I've been told that we would have first priority in getting those next-gen core services, so I'm hopeful.
Elena. Thank you. Can we backpedal and just, how many contracts do we have?
Oh gosh, I don't know off the top of my head. We have Department of Public Safety, we have the contract with the borough. Cassie may have to help me out. 511, SEOC, City of Palmer Fire. City of Houston, thank you.
I didn't count that, sorry.
Yeah.
I should have.
Did we still dispatch for Forest Service? Didn't we have that contract for a while?
No, not with Forest Service.
So 7 to 10, somewhere in there?
DOC too.
Yeah, Department of Corrections.
So we can get the number, we can figure that out.
Yeah.
You can get back to, and then are those annually, or are those 5-year
No,
contracts, what are they?
They're multi-year, but some of them then after the multi-year, it says you can extend for the next 3 years or whatever the case may be. So
Okay.
we're on our last extension, I believe, with DPS. So
Okay.
that's something we're working on. The borough is not up until 28, I believe, but they wanted to negotiate now to get a second dispatcher for fire and EMS 24/7. And then I would like to request some changes. They currently have in there that we have to keep our records for 7 years, and I would like to go to 5 years just due to the amount it costs to store that much. So things like that we'd like to kind of make some changes on.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Mr. Gray?
Thank you. So the workforce development part seems to be even more critical as we go along. And of course, for the last several years, you know, the Alaska State Troopers have been trying to generate their own dispatch center, which would cut MATCOM out. And you did mention that the DPS contract was coming up next year, I think. Any idea what the status of all that is? I didn't hear anything from our
Well, they're looking at doing next-gen core services for the 911 centers across the state. And so with that, that would be not standing up their own 911 center. I think they realize the cost, the amount of cost that it would take to do that. I know that B Detachment that we take care of is very happy with their services. I can't imagine that they could do it for any less than what we're taking care of them for. But if they do the next gen core services like they're saying, and they would provide that for us, that's gonna interlink all of the 911 centers across the state. Eventually, it would take some time to build out. And they're also talking about now possibly building out a hosted 911 call handling system as well, but I don't know what the odds are of that. It's a big dollar amount.
So in your opinion, their current initiatives would not affect our staffing levels at MATCOM?
No. Okay, so on goal 2, it was the infrastructure upgrade, a transition of all of our equipment going to next gen 911 capability. We need to be empowering our team with the tools, training, and technology to respond efficiently and effectively to emergencies while building a resilient system that adapts to the changing needs of the community. And I would love for us to be recognized as the gold standard in the 911 emergency communications by providing an unmatched service and fostering a culture of excellence and continuity. One thing to note, and there's going to be a lot of asks from me financially, and I'm going to be looking for some funding out there, but our Motorola radio consoles that we have are obsolete. Those must be upgraded from our MCC 7500s to the Access platform by 2028. With what we currently have in MATCOM, we're looking at least 1.5 million. We need more consoles than we have in MATCOM. MATCOM, we have 8 call handling stations, and then 6 of those have radios at them. That puts us at capacity. We need more radio systems than what we have, and I have asked, the Alaska State Troopers are getting ready to, at Fairbanks, upgrade their MCC 7500s, which like I said are obsolete. I've asked for them, hey, can I get 1 or 2 of those to have as a spare? Because right now we'd have to buy parts off eBay or wherever we could. So I'm working with them, and they said absolutely we'll do what we can help you with until you have to go to the Access system. But that's something that I would love to get a couple extra consoles to have in there. Technology fails, like we all know. If one of those radio consoles goes down, we don't have the ability to be able to communicate. We do have the backup over at Wasilla PD and with 4 radio consoles there, but they are a little different than the MCC 7500s. Our 911 call handling hardware and software estimate, I'm guessing it's gonna be around the 1.5 million as well over a 5-year contract, and our next gen core services. If the state does not get that through, I would love for us to look at it at the local level, because that is the only thing that is going to fix our 911 outage problems. We're on a legacy 911 system, and the copper wire lines that we have now, we cannot transfer our calls out of the Mat-Su Borough into any other agency with having Annie and Allie information, which is the location and number, because of the systems we're on. We have MTA for our phone service. If we transferred them to Soldotna, for example, they're on ACS. I believe they're ACS. The 2 phone systems don't talk together, so that's just, the information doesn't go together, doesn't transfer. Same with if we go up to Fairbanks, if we transferred our calls up there for them to answer it, there's no way for that information to go. So in this day and age, with the equipment we have, the best thing and route for us is to keep our lines here on an admin line so we can answer them ourselves. We have implemented a product called Rapid SOS, which is a web-based system. I have all the dispatchers log into it at the beginning of their shift, and it shows all the incoming 911 calls. So if our phone system went down, we can communicate through that web-based program. And it's free. They give it free to the 911 public safety. They do have some packages out there where you can pay for, but this platform gives us a contingency plan if our 911 system did fail. They can see the 911 calls that came in, and we actually have a way through that web thing to be able to text back to the caller. And there is a way to also video with them if we wanted to. That's where it costs, but we're not implementing that yet. So again, with our infrastructure upgrade, lessons learned from the 911 outage include the need for additional redundancy and a contingency plan. I did add that rapid SOS that I just talked about. And that was something that I seen that when I went in during the last outage we had, and I heard the dispatchers, they were thankful that they had that. They felt like they were not running as blind as they were all the other prior ones. They were like, this is so helpful to have this. I don't feel like I'm failing the public, because they had that backup there to be able to call people back. So that was great to hear. And again, we've been having discussions with our partner PSAPs, Fairbanks, North Star Borough, and the FECC up there. They're not happy with the call handling system. They're on the same one we're on. They're saying we would be willing to get out of our contract early and maybe partner with you on a hosted system. So that would be huge to get on the same system and be able to, if we're on a hosted system with them, we could transfer calls seamlessly. We could log in here at MATCOM as of the FECC and take their 911 calls, and they could do the same for us. So infrastructure upgrade, these are some accomplishments we've done. So we have a CAD upgrade in progress. Our go live did get pushed out, and that was not due to us. That was due to Central Square. They do not have enough staff, help, whatever, to be able to import 5 years of our data from our current CAD to the new CAD. We really want to have that data in there. So that's something that we're waiting on, but our go live. And then I would like to make sure we have enough personnel so that we can do the proper training for them that they need. Yes?
Madam Mayor, what is CAD?
Oh, sorry, computer aided dispatch. Comms Coach was something we just added this year. Our go live will be this month. It is a QA software. It's AI. It not only it will automatically look through every single call that comes in and review it. Right now, I have not filled that supervisor position that we have for our quality assurance and training, because I want to change the job description to be more of a training person with quality assurance in there. This will be part of that. We will still have people that have to have eyes on this, but it's a great tool. It can also learn from our calls that we take and be able to provide feedback and training scenarios. So I'm really excited about this product. We got it at a huge reduction. I found it at the APCO conference I went to. We're part of a pilot project, and we got it for $9,500. And anyone else, it's $50,000 a year. So huge savings and a really awesome tool. Rapid SOS software, the continuity of operations that we talked about. The text to 911, I've been really disappointed in not having that up and running yet. This is another area where our partner with our phone system that we have, our call handling system, Comtech, has not been responsive in getting this up and running. I finally reached out to the highest level, and we've got some movement now, and I'm hoping we'll have text to 911 up in the next, hopefully 3 months. The telcos technically have 6 months to respond to the letter that we're ready to handle text to 911 calls, but usually because they've done those implementations all over the United States, they can get it up and running quicker. And then our session border controllers are something that is, again, slow to get handled. This was part of the issue with the phone system with the admin phone at Palmer and the admin phone at MatCom and getting it off the 911 system. So that's what this session border controller process is, and that's part of what caused some of the outages we had and why we're anxious to get that up and installed, and it should be finished this month. Another goal is updating our standard operating procedures. We are reviewing and revising our SOPs. This is part of goal initiative 5 and 20. We're working through that process. We've added a software called Frontline. It not only does our SOPs, but our DORs. So. And then there's that on there. Sorry, I jumped ahead. And then our final one was that we really need to establish a web page and a social media presence. We have none of that. I'm working on with HR on the policy for that and getting that. We're not going to do the web page until the city changes to their new website, which is, I believe, IT said we'll go live next June or July. So we'll just wait. We're not gonna pull something up on the current website and then have to rebuild it on the new one, so. Again, more on establishing the social media presence. I just love to be able to have public safety tools on there and then be able to have public education. So some final thoughts that I wanted to leave you with. As part of our strategic planning process, it's become evident that we've outgrown our current facility. When I came in there, the administrative assistant was on the dispatch floor. I've since moved her office out into our training area, and we had to build a whole new office for her. The admin assistant should not be on a dispatch floor where there's active 911 calls and all sorts of things going on. We need room in there for more 911 consoles. So like I said, we have 6 radio consoles, 2 are just for call take for a total of 8, but we really need to have 10 for a communication center our size and for a community of our size. Just one natural disaster, we need more people in there to handle the phone calls. There's not enough to be able to be in that room. And even training right now, they're just on top of one another and they're trying to train. With moving the administrative assistant office out where we did, then that took up more of our training room. So now we've had to utilize other resources. We've went over to WPD to do some training. We've had to do the Matsu Borough for some training where it'd be nice to be able to be in-house where we have access to our computers and not have to try to figure out how to work on things. So we really would love to have a better facility. Yes.
Madam Mayor, I have a question for that.
Yeah.
To remind me what's at the bottom of MatCom, is it EMT?
The emergency management for the Matsu Borough.
So we lease that to them, right?
I believe so, yes.
So that's a fix. We would have more space. That's something to look at for sure.
Yeah, possibly. All right, so in conclusion, this plan outlines our commitment to enhancing operations, investing in our workforce, and upgrading technology and fostering our community engagement. Thank you.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. A lot going on there, a lot to look forward to making happen. Couple of questions. Are your people covered by a collaborative bargaining agreement? Are they represented by union or are they not?
Yes.
And is that union the WPDEA or is
Yes.
it otherwise? Okay. And then totally separate, several years ago we implemented a Safe 911 system which allows, people like me to upload all kinds of information about my residents and the people who live there and so on and so forth. And when I call in, and of course the Safe 911 pulls up on the corner of the screen so the dispatcher has all sorts of things there, but we implemented that and we touted it for 6 months, and I haven't heard a single thing to
Yeah.
encourage others to put that information in the system.
You know, that thing, I thought Smart 911 Rave was a good thing back, I implemented it back in Douglas County where I was many years ago. It's a good thing, but people have to go in and register, and they don't continue to keep it up registered. When I first got here, I contacted Rave to see how many active users we had, and I believe there was 1,300 active users in the entire borough. So, not much usage on it. It's that way everywhere, no matter how much you tout it. There's new technology now just with your smartphone where you can have your information in there and you can put on there to share with 911, both on an Android and an Apple. And if you call, we have that information. So you don't even have to have a Rave Smart 911 profile. But that's something that I looked at was, is it worth spending that money every year on to continue? But if the community is dependent on it, or, you know, we have 1,300 people that do use it. But yeah, it was something I looked at, should we continue that contract or not? And there's other technologies out there to get the same information.
One other question, just out of general information, you know, when I call either the call taker or 911 emergency dispatcher, they always ask me what number I'm calling from. I mean, that seems like pretty basic technology. I mean, I understand them asking my name, but when I'm trying to report a drunk driver or a dangerous driver or a fire or something like that, I don't understand why that question doesn't come a little bit further down. If we need to call you back, can we call you at this number that you called in on?
Yeah, the first question is always, what's the address of the emergency? What's the phone number you're calling from? And tell me exactly what happened. The phone number is very important to ask because sometimes technology fails. Things don't come through on our end. 99% of the time, they're probably there and they're probably seeing that phone number. But we've had cases where your local phone company on phone lines where they mess up their database and it'll have a wrong number come through or even a wrong address. So it does happen, and that is just a requirement, and they actually get graded on that for our quality assurance piece. So that's one of the huge things.
Okay, thank you, Lori. I want to do this, but I ain't got it.
Oh, you want me to click?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to be the deputy administrator for this session. So, the vision statement, you guys can all read that. And to enhance the economic vitality and sustainability by creating a comprehensive business development strategy for the city of Wasilla through revenue diversification, legislative analysis on issues impacting the city, solution-focused ideas for large infrastructure projects attracting wealth for economic development. The goal 1 is to increase economic activity and fund critical infrastructure. You heard Cassie say that we had 34 point something million, and that has been brought in as grants to improve water and wastewater and also the airport. And we will continue at a slower rate because the finance department is gonna fire all of us if we don't, to get as many grants as we can to upgrade our infrastructure to be able to have all of the growth, support the growth that we've got coming. So, improve the regional connection and attract new business opportunities with modern infrastructure that meets the needs of residents, visitors, and businesses. Increase marketing to attract the right customer as we continue to expand and improve critical infrastructure for economic development. That would be water expansion and wastewater upgrades, airport expansion and commercialization, downtown overlay railroad depot, transportation connectivity, large developments adjoining major corridors. Secure the necessary funding for investing in upgrades and build future operational costs for anticipated rate structures. That would be the state of Alaska, FAA, DOT, and EDA. Regional and local funding resources being evaluated. Goal 2 is to engage and work strategically with federal, state, local policy leaders on create policies that positively impact the city and quality of life for our residents and businesses. Develop relationships on all levels and create positive economic and community impact. Identify programs within local, state, and federal agencies to create policies that increase economic activity and quality of life. We are a first-class city, and we always want local control, especially with licensing. Clean water initiatives for business and residents. Increased connectivity for transportation, trails, and large developments. Number 2 is to create a 12-month marketing blueprint that serves to educate all stakeholders and customer relationship management to generate automatic messaging and update website with analytics. New businesses and developers, to tell them the why to invest in Wasilla. The residents and the visitors, why we live and visit in Wasilla. Elected officials, why does this project make sense for the region? Establish regional partnerships to streamline the grant process and fees associated. Goal 3 is to continue to analyze operational systems that automate and digitize departments to reduce duplications, centralize information, and provide cost-effective solutions to departments. Build enterprise services to deliver quality service internally and externally. Improve existing service to advocate a centralized financial platform, the ERP, that can eliminate or minimize the number of applications and manual process that exists in the city, reducing labor cost, which would be the permitting and licensing and code compliance, mapping, land use violations and licensing, and utility systems consolidate into one platform. Decrease labor costs associated with research, communication with resident, and development services. Number 2 is customer service initiatives, assisting departments with 20-year operational cost to ensure the zero mill rate. What is the operational cost for each capital investment? We secured, the accomplishments is secured $18 million for capital improvements, making economic development a priority. Increased collaboration with large developers in designing cohesive transportation and infrastructure solutions that creates economic growth, life and safety priorities with a partnership model. For instance, Steam Commons. We are, Eric, you can talk about the Steam Commons, the little tiny road that they had. So we are working with them to,
Did you want me to say anything?
yeah, I do.
Yeah, so thank you, Mayor. We're working with developers in Steam Commons to address the infrastructure lacking. So there's some planning actions that are going through to do what needs to happen over there, because that's really the next really developable space in town, and we want to get ahead of that. And as the Deputy Administrator said, those are large developments. We need to be at the forefront with those developers and plan for the future, because they've already outgrown what they put in, and that's not what the city needs. It's a black eye for everyone we get those phone calls, it's a private road, and they're like, these potholes are the worst. And I say, I know, it's not my road. So we're gonna fix that and have that vision that we need over there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Eric. Submitted updated 2024 comprehensive economic development activity based on our SEDS plan with associated partners and investment amounts. Co-hosted the spring and fall economic summits, contracted agency to complete a community survey. Attended all AML events and participated in board panels regarding housing solution, land permitting, and local control. Worked collaboratively with code compliance and licensing to address land user and business concern. Increased participation in local trade organizations, the home builders, realtors, small business, and the residents. Fully completed the modernization programs for IT, HR, and planning that included automating and streamlining internal processes. And that is it, my friends. Any questions for the Deputy Administrator? All right, hearing none. And Linda, I apologize. Would you like to introduce yourself now that we're done?
That's okay. Hi, I'm Linda Leary, and I've had the honor of working with the mayor and the staff for the last couple of years on strategic planning and aligning their goals and initiatives with what you've been working on. And it's awesome to see how much growth and cooperation there has been with the teams, and how they love working together, and they have common themes of customer service and really do what they can to make sure that the community is thriving, and to see the changes and the way they want to work together has been very impressive. So they've done a great job. So for letting us participate, and good job to the team.
Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to exit the committee of the whole.
Madam Mayor, so moved.
Is there a second?
Rubio seconds.
It's been moved by Councilmember Johnson and seconded by Councilmember Rubio to exit the committee of the whole. We are now at audience comments. It's a time for members of the public to share their views with council. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to the administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the council or administration. Is there anyone present who would like to address the city council? If so, please come forward and begin by stating your first and last name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. No? Okay. We will close audience comments, bring it back to the dais. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Just hope you all are able to attend the holiday luncheon this Friday, 11:30 to 2 here in Council Chambers. We talked about it last night, but just extending that invitation again. And then next regular meeting, December 16th, followed by special meetings on the 17th and 18th, and we will see you at AML next week.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you for good presentations tonight. Nothing else. Thank you.
Councilmember Rubio.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now that we are complete, I think that the department heads did an amazing job collaborating and putting it all together for us. So I just want to give them thanks.
Councilmember Cottle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to thank all the department heads for all the hard work they put into their presentations and all the information and question answering they did. It was great. I would like to just really encourage people that do have questions as far as potholes, different things like that, to try using that Borough Problem Reporter portal. I have used it when I got complaints, and it was about potholes that were right in an intersection, borough, city, and put the info in there. Got notices that it was received, got notices because it was for the city. that had gone to the city, got a notice when it was taken care of, and it was a seamless system, and it was great to use, and I just really encourage people to use that. It's amazing how fast things get done. Thank you.
Councilmember Crafton.
Thank you, Mayor. To the staff, thank you guys for the really awesome reports. Again, it's really great to see what you guys have been able to accomplish, sometimes in such a short amount of time for some of you that haven't been here for a long time. I did have a couple questions about basically how this information came together. I pulled up the email that basically was in the agenda. It looks like it came from our deputy administrator who's not here. So I'll just ask you, Madam Mayor, just kind of out of curiosity here, is there a reason why these slides and this packet was not provided to us when the agenda was put together? Do we have any idea why? Okay, because I happened to go check online, and I mean, from what I understand, the only information online is basically this piece of paper, this guide that was attached to our agenda. And as a matter of fact, it's not even the one attached to our agenda. So this one that I have in front of me, both from yesterday and today, is different than what they received online. A couple of the presentations were put in differently, and basically if you tried to watch online, they can't see the TVs, so essentially there was no way for them to follow along as to what we're doing here with these packets. They essentially, from what I understand, would have had to have requested it. So I mean, what I would ask is in the future when we do this type of stuff, this information's put into the packet early enough so that the public has access to it as well, and they're not having to physically come down here. To me, it's a little bit frustrating to think that when I checked YouTube, there was 20 or so views on last night's meeting, meaning that there was potentially 20 people that didn't have the packet information that we were going through. The other question I had about it or comment was the intent of this was to review the 2024 accomplishments and then align how the administration is meeting 2025's goals. And from what I'm seeing here, I mean, this one here is 2023, 2024. And some of the directors provided what their plan going forward was. Some of them only provided what they'd done. So again, I'm a little confused as to kind of how this all came together, because from what I was given and told what this meeting was going to be about, honestly, is not what was put forward over these last 2 days. And I'm not trying to downplay what our directors did. I think they did a fabulous job. I still learned a lot as to what they've done. But the information that I was given ahead of time and what the public has been given didn't really line up to me as to what was actually put forward in our packets. So I don't know, Mayor, if it was you or our deputy administrator, but I'd be kind of curious to hear a little bit more as to what this email I'm looking at and why it didn't fully align up to what we had here.
I have no idea. Do you, Jamie?
I think for the chair, to the council, I think this just reaffirms to the administration that the packet deadline set by the clerk's office for the council for meeting material at least 5 days in advance be honored moving forward. And I think it just reaffirms how important it is to council members that information discussed at a meeting is provided to them with the meeting packet. And we'll do a better job moving forward, but just to reaffirm on the record that it is clearly important to the council and the public that information they're going to be looking at, reading, they'd like published with the meeting packet. We have meeting packet deadlines, and so we rely on, as a team, we rely on that information to come into us, and then we publish the packets on time. So So I think the administration will stress that, and we will all work together to ensure timely submission. Does that suffice, sir?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Can I just add something really quick here? This, the budget goals and initiatives for fiscal year 23-24, once I had read the packet and the slides, because I was not on council when those goals and initiatives were instituted, I had asked for this information, and yeah, it was last minute because I saw initiatives, referred to in here, so I had asked for this information because I was not on council at that time and was not familiar with them. So that's the reason that we got this kind of last minute, was because I asked last minute.
I mean, this isn't necessarily what it was. It was, to me, what this is, it does outline what the goals and initiatives were. I know Mr. Graham had brought his budget book, which has them in the front, just like 2025, fiscal year 2025. Again, my thought was, it talks about 2025 in here, and I didn't really get enough of how that's aligning with what we talked about, basically, I believe it was a year ago, if I recall, when we did 2025's goals and initiatives. I didn't see that movement forward, considering we're basically halfway through our fiscal year. So I do appreciate this. I did like it, though.
Okay, Mr. Gray, I'm sorry.
Through the chair to the council, just so to lessen confusion, I think we're confused. These were provided by the contractor and distributed upon receipt.
Mhm.
So everything you have was provided to our office, including this, prepared for and provided by the administration.
Yeah, so I could explain. So the process we've had the last couple of years is, the mayor and the deputy mayor wanted us to make sure that the staff is aligned with the council goals and initiatives. And so that's everything that everybody's been working on. We started this like 3 years ago. And so at that time, it was 22 or 21 probably, looking at about 5 years. So perhaps some numbers didn't get changed in a slide on the header, but the intention is always that it's forward-looking, and they're reviewing the accomplishments for the year, the previous year, and then also talking about goals. And then goals change every year. Sometimes you have to adjust goals. They're always keeping in mind the goals that the council has, but goals can also be adjusted along the way to make sure that they're meeting what they need to do to, sorry. I'm sorry. I know better than that. Yeah. So just to make sure that they're always aligned. And then, so what we presented here is everybody's goals and initiatives and the accomplishments they've been working on in the past year, and then also looking future, for the coming year. And then I had been chatted with Jamie a little bit, and we were looking at the goals and initiatives and wanted to do a cross-reference goals and initiatives, and then put all of their the goals and the accomplishments on one document for you, so that you had it in one place to look at. If that helps.
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Graham.
I have to agree with everybody else that there was a lot of information out there that in general was pretty well presented. This is just the first introductory step to the goals and initiatives, so hopefully what we're going to hear in goals and initiatives is a lot of what we heard in the last couple of days, so that we can move forward with those areas that you feel are important. And I know that directors don't just get up here and talk. The administration sees what they're going to say, knows what they're going to say, so you're coming forward with a united front, and I look forward to being able to move forward on a lot of those things as well. I also wanted to congratulate our audience today. one of the things that we talked about today was workforce development, and we talked about it the other day too. I mean, all of the departments in the city, you know, have specific needs and have a need for people that have a good basic education. And without that, you know, the city can't use them, businesses can't use them. So when we talk about workforce development, it starts with you guys. You know, I mean, you're the ones that are the future. You know, I'm almost 70. I'm not gonna be around. You know, and you know, you guys are gonna be the ones that decide where the city goes in the future and how the city gets there, and can the city get to the right place for you guys to have a city that you're proud of and that you feel is meeting your needs. So thank you for being here. I know this was probably the least exciting 2 hours of your life, but thank you for being here. It's important that everyone is included regardless of their age and regardless of their amount of training or whatever, but you can see the city, you know, has a tremendous need, as does any business or corporation, for folks that are trainable and can be trained. I mean, we heard from MatCom, you know, 9 months training, and you guys are probably looking there 9 months to answer the phone, really? Well, you know, if you'd like a tour of MatCom and see what these folks are doing over there, I'm sure that could be arranged. But yeah, it's you know, thank you for being here, and please work hard in school, and you know, have a great time as well, but work hard in school, because the future of the city is in your hands, and we're just here to throw some blocks out there, and it's up to you guys to put them together and see what the city's going to look like. So thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody. Look forward to seeing the city council at the luncheon on Friday. I highly encourage you not to sit with another city council member at lunch. You know, there will be, you know, 150 or so employees that come by and have lunch. We can talk to each other whenever we want, but you know, last year I sat with the water and wastewater guys. It's amazing what I learned from them versus what I learned from Eric. I learned a lot from Eric, but I learned a lot from the guy that's operating the vacuum truck as well. You know, so please show up and you know, introduce yourself to different departments, sit down, eat lunch, you know, and it's a great opportunity. It's a very relaxed opportunity, very informal. So I look forward to seeing you guys Friday. Thank you.
Thank you to all the directors. You did a great job. I am very proud of the team that we have put together and the goals that we have accomplished, and the goals we set out to continue, because Wasilla's gonna grow with us or without us. So hopefully we are putting together an infrastructure that will support the growth, and it will support for generations to come after I'm long gone. So anyway, Saturday, 2 p.m., Idetta Park is the Christmas tree lighting, the city's Christmas tree. This is the first year we've done it in Idetta Park. So we will have hot chocolate and candy canes. Wasilla High's band and choir will be there. So bring your neighbors. You know, have you been by the Idetta Park?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited about that because it gets bigger every year, you know. So anyway, I will see you guys on Friday. And with that, we are adjourned at 8:10.